We're going to look at production costs. We're going to look at the point at which we maximize our profits and at what level of output should we be producing. And so different types of costs we're going to look at. The first one is fixed cost. Fixed costs are exactly what the word fixed means. They do not change regardless of the production level. So even if you are producing zero, as a business there are still things that you have to pay for. Your rent, your taxes, your salaries. I am a salaried employee. It doesn't matter how many days a week I work or how many days a year I work. They are going to pay me the same exact amount. So that is it. Whether I'm teaching or not, they have to pay me. Variable costs are exactly what the word variable means. They vary, they change, they rise and fall depending on the level of production. So if you make more, you obviously need more raw materials. If you have hourly workers, like David works at Chrysler and he works by the hour, the more hours he works, the more they have to pay him. Total cost, we get that by just taking those first two, your fixed and your variable, and adding them together, and that gives us the total cost of producing. Then we're going to look at the average cost. If we get our total cost for producing 500, we want to know how much does it cost to produce one of those. And so we're just going to take the total cost that we got from adding those first two, and then we're going to divide that by the quantity. So whatever the dollar amount it ends up being, you're going to divide it by the number that you make, and that's going to give you per unit how much it costs to make just one. And then marginal cost, we know marginal means additional. So when we produce one additional unit of something, we want to know how much those costs are going to be. We're going to look at this table, and this is one that we're going to do in class. And so when we look at this table, we see we have our fixed costs that are exactly the same. It doesn't matter how many I produce, I'm going to have to pay the same amount in my rent, my insurance, my taxes, and my salary. Then variable, if you notice, those increase as the amount of output increases. So the more we produce, the higher our variable costs are going to be. So all we're going to do to get our total cost is to add these two columns. So our fixed cost plus our variable cost is going to give us $12. So anytime you have the total cost number, you can always break that down. If you know what your fixed costs are, all you're going to do is take 21. You'll subtract 12 from that, and that will give you your variable cost. So you can do this either way. So we're going to add these two columns to get our fixed cost. Then to get our marginal cost, once again, how much does it cost us to make one more unit? So if we're making 0, our total costs are 12 because we have to pay our fixed cost. But when we make that first unit, how much additional cost do we have? And so it's the difference from 12 to 21. So we're going to take our 21 that it cost us, subtract the 12 from that. So that first unit actually cost us additional of $9. So when we go from 1 unit to 2 units, we go from 21 to 28. So that second unit actually is a marginal cost or an additional cost of 7. When we go from 2 to 3, we go from 28 to 35. Once again, an additional cost of 7. The fourth unit cost us $5, which is the difference between 35 and 40. Our fifth unit cost us 9, which was the difference between 40 and 49, and then so forth and so on until you get down to the 10th unit. It cost us 95 to make 9 units, 109 to make 10 units, so our marginal cost of our 10th unit is 14. Marginal revenue. Marginal revenue just is the additional revenue that you get from selling one more unit. So it's the actual selling price of this product. Because when we sell 1 unit, our revenue is 11. So when we sell an additional one, that additional unit in terms of revenue was $11 more. When I sell 1 more, I make $11 more. When I sell 1 more, I make $11 more. So marginal revenue is really just the price that you are charging people, and when we sell 1 more, I'm going to make an additional $11 worth of revenue. Our total revenue is calculated by taking how many we sell and multiplying that times our marginal revenue or the selling price. So 1 times 11 is 11. When we sell 2, our total revenue is 22, 2 times 11. When we sell 3, our total revenue is 3 times 11, 33, and then all the way down. 10 times 11 is 110. Then to calculate our profits, we're going to take our total revenue, how much we're bringing in, and subtracting our total costs. So when I'm selling 0, I'm not bringing anything in, but I still have costs of $12, those fixed costs. So my profits at 0 are actually negative 12 and not 0. When I sell 1, I have a total revenue of 11 and my costs are 21. And so it's still costing me more to make it than I am selling it for at a negative 10. Then my total revenue is 22. My total costs are 28, which is a negative 6. And we don't get to the point where we're actually making any money until we sell 4 of them because we have to cover our fixed costs. And so you can see as we go up, profits start to go up and then they start to go back down. And so what we have to figure out as a business, at what level of output should we be producing? And obviously one of the ways that we can see that is to go over here and say that at 6 units our profits are maximized. But sometimes we'll have a situation where your profits are exactly the same at two different output levels. And so what the second way you look is you look at the marginal revenue column and the marginal cost column. And your goal is to get these two numbers as close to each other without your costs being greater. So once again, this kind of backs it up. At a level or an output of 6, our marginal costs are 10. Our marginal revenue is 11, and so they are as close as we can get them without going over. If we made one more unit, our costs would actually be, for that additional unit, would be greater than what we could sell that additional unit for, so we're not going to produce at that level. So our goal is to make this be equal, and some of the problems that we do in class, they will be equal. So you can go, okay, and then you'll come over here to the profit column and you'll see, yes, at that output level my profits will be the greatest. So the two ways to determine output level, it's the point where you have the greatest profit, but it's also the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So behind all hiring decisions is the firm's basic goal to maximize profits. Profits are calculated by taking your total revenue, which is your price times your quantity, and then subtracting total costs. We just did that. Marginal revenue equals your marginal costs. I'm sorry, you want to set your output level where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. We just did that. And your marginal revenue, once again, is your, that should be market price. And so we have a situation here. This is our quantity. We've got our marginal revenue, our marginal cost column, and our profit. So if we come over here, this was the example I was telling you about. We have two output levels, 60 and 70, where our profits are the same. So then we can come back over here and we can see our marginal cost and our marginal revenue equal at this point. And so we want to actually produce at 70 and not 60. You do not want to leave a penny of revenue. If you can sell that one additional unit, you're always going to want to do that. So we're going to calculate our total revenue, price times quantity. We're going to subtract our costs. That will give us our profit column. And then once again, if we have a situation where we're not sure, we're going to come over here and we're going to look where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And once again, you'll notice this column. They're all 60 cents. We're selling these for 60 cents a piece. The shutdown decision. A factory is operating at the most profitable level of an output where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, but let's say they're still losing money. So the price that they have to pick, which, like, once again, is where the output level that they have to pick, where their marginal revenue equals marginal cost, the market price is so low that the factory's total revenue is still less than its total cost. That's not good. We don't want our total revenue, the amount we have coming in, being less than what it's costing us to produce. But there are times when we want to keep this money-losing factory open, that would be our best choice. And so what we're going to do there is we are going to look at the variable cost. So as long as your revenue is covering those costs, you should continue to produce. You must continue paying your fixed costs. So if you're not producing any, you're not generating any revenue whatsoever, but you still have to pay the rent on that building. You still have to pay your insurance. There are still some fixed costs that you are going to have to continue to pay because of contracts that you have. And so as long as you are covering, make sure you understand this, as long as you are covering your variable costs, and sometimes covering those costs, you'll have a little additional that you can also cover some of your fixed costs. Now, if you're not covering your variable costs or your fixed costs, then that's when you want to shut down. But as long as you can cover your variable costs, you will continue to produce.